A lot of people associate success and wealth with their income. Income does not equal wealth. If you, in your business, in your life, are not out there solving someone else's problem, then you are stunting your growth. We have built AI Chris into the entire thing, so AI Chris can help navigate you, help give you info. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Wealth Webinar, where we teach you how to take back control of your money by showing you how to be the bank. And if you stick around today, we've got an extra special offer because this is July, but it's not just July. This is Christmas in July. So I've got all the goodies that you're going to be able to stick around and check out for our special offer later. But one of the offers, too, as John had mentioned in the comments, is that we always are willing to do a free consultation call. We call them strategy call to figure out what's going on, what your needs and goals are. But today I got something extra special. I've been really hard at work on myself. And I don't mean the gym. I mean hard at work on my mindset, hard at work at really getting clear with what my intentions are, what my thoughts are, and how I go through my days. And I want to open up with just some stuff. And I've got a lot of stuff written down, so please bear with me if I'm looking down. I'm just looking at my notes because it's just a lot to unpack. But one of the things that I've learned through my almost 48 years, my birthday's on Monday, so I'll be 48 years old. But in my 48 years, I've learned this. True wealth follows cause and effect. Actually, true wealth is created through discipline and application of 6 laws of wealth. And there's also 7 principles that go along with that. And we're going to talk about them today, but let me just read you this. The path to wealth is simple. It's not easy, but it is very simple. And it's available to every single person who is willing to be disciplined, consistent, and deliberate in their actions. The challenge is never in the knowledge. Okay, the challenge has always been in the application. So I do want to preface, as we go into this wealth webinar, where we got some amazing stuff, we're going to dive into the 6 laws of wealth, how you can apply them, how you can use them literally to create buying power during a recessionary period of time or take advantage of opportunities. But one of the most important things is, it saddens me when every week we got 200 or so people on here, and so few people put application behind the knowledge. Because that's what you're going to get. You're going to get lots of knowledge. And in that knowledge, you'll find value. And in that value, a very small percentage of you, will actually apply the knowledge you're going to get today. Now, here is the most important thing. Don't forget what you just said, because your thoughts are things. Now, I made you all think about something there. I made you all think about whether you are going to be the 95% or the 5%. I made you all think about whether you're going to apply, which, as by now you should know, is the application, or you're not going to apply and you're just here to be the gnat and just kind of learn and whatever you're going to do with it, the 95%. I made you think. I want you to understand that thoughts are things. And wealth is not built in one day. It is built daily. That is one of the things I wrote down here that I love. Wealth is not built in one day. It's built every single day. If you follow my Insta stories, you will see that I've been on my bike a lot. I've been riding to work, okay? I've been leaving the cars in the garage. I've been riding to work because it's beautiful. But you know what riding to work does for me? It allows me to slow things down. It allows me to take things in. And what I've found is that during that short little, almost 3-mile ride, I think a lot. I reflect a lot. And I come up with just some of the most amazing ideas. And you know what the biggest problem is? I get those ideas, and then I can't take a pen out and write down when I'm riding my bike. So when I get to the office, I rush in. I rush past Cash the cat, who he gets mad because he always plops himself on the ground wanting me to pet. And I go right to this little notepad, and I write down my thoughts and my ideas, because that's application. Because I know a thought that comes into my mind, a good, worthy idea, can be gone in a second because your mind wanders. It's just what we've trained our minds to do. We've trained our minds to literally just want these short little bursts of adrenaline, these short little dopamine hits. Well, riding the bike allows me to slow it down. And that also allows me to realize that what I'm building is built every day. It's built every hour. and it's built every single minute. Applied knowledge is power. You must do this patiently, persistently, and consistently, okay? It's never too late. That's the good news, but it's never too early. You can never start soon enough, and it's never too late. That's another thing that I wrote down. Freedom is far greater than wealth, and this is one of the most important things. Some of you have a pen, and some of you are writing some of this stuff down. These are just like little things that I pick up, things that I get from reading Earl Nightingale or Napoleon Hill, things I just get on that ride, or those times where you slow things down and you think. But those things are never, ever too late or too early. When they come to you, they're at just the right time, because the now is always the most important time. So I want you to think about freedom. What is freedom to you? In the chat right now, what is freedom? What is it? It's going to be something different to everybody else, but really, whatever you decide, whatever you write down, wherever you type in the chat, freedom of time to all of us is what we're working toward. I don't care if you say, oh, I want to be rich, I want to be wealthy, I want $1 million, I want $10 million. You might be me, I want 350 million when I sell my company, whatever. All those numbers, all those do for you is buy your time. Because we go through so much of our life, 48 years for me. Some of you might be like, oh, you're a young one. I'm 60, I'm 65, 70, maybe even 80. But also what happens is we just get distracted. You know, when we're younger, we're so busy out there just trying to live, trying to enjoy, and I get it. But you know, sometimes I think it's backwards. You know, when we're younger, we're so busy trying to live, so busy trying to get a job, trying to go out there and make money, make things work and everything else. And we give up our best years of our life so that when we're older, like most of you are older, we start to really think about it. We're like, hey, I think I missed some things. I think there's a lot of things that I should have learned when I was younger, that I should have applied when I was younger, that now I got to get on this. I feel like time's against me. Time is never against you. Remember, it's never too late and it's never too early. It's always just the right time. But it just seems that, you know, we do this for thousands and thousands of people. We've been doing these webinars free every Wednesday for years upon years upon years, and we bring hundreds of people to every one. But yet, you'll notice when we just did that, a lot of the folks, well, we're older, me included. Because that's when we really start to slow things down. We start to really question what we've been taught thus far. And we start to ask that question of, is that really what will get me where I want to go? Because what's got us here is not what's going to get us where we want to be. I think we can all agree on that. Can everybody agree on that? What has got us to this point in our life is probably not what's going to get us where we want to be. And if you do say that, then you are in absolutely the right place, because I will tell you right now, you may not feel wealthy now. That's okay. The purpose of the rules I'm going to show you, the laws of wealth, the 6 laws of wealth that we're going to go to today, the purpose of these laws is to change the way you live, to become wealthy by design. That is key. Not to become wealthy, but you're going to become wealthy by design. Everything in your life happens because you design it, because your thoughts become things, because we put visions and ideas and dreams in our mind. And some of them we never forget about. Those happen by design. Now, I know some of you are like, that's foo-foo stuff, get to the meat and potatoes, but this is the meat and potatoes. This is single-handedly the most important things that you're going to learn today. Because if you can't understand the things that I've already covered here, if you don't understand and grasp the simplicity about what I just said, you're never going to understand the stuff that we're going to go into, which are the 6 laws of wealth. And then we're going to give you a couple case studies that Craig put together to really show you application of these laws working for you. And that is key. Notice how I didn't say working for us. We're already doing this. But the thing is we're always learning. Myself, Craig, Stephen, Marius, everybody, Sean on the team. Every day we're learning. Every day we're trying new things. Every day we're pushing the envelope. Every day we're going into the unknown, the fear place, the place that we don't know what the outcome is going to be, because we know that we got to push the envelope, and all of you do as well. But fear is going to stop every one of you. I will tell you that. And I got a bunch of stuff here, but let's just dive right in. Craig, could you pull up that slide that has the 6 laws of wealth on them? And folks, we got to give you a little disclaimer here, because we are going to get into some really good stuff. So good that we have to actually, well, first I have to give Craig the ability to share his slides. That would probably be very helpful. So let me do that for you, Craig. Okay, you should be able to do that. But the most important thing is different laws that we're going to be applying here, We're going to talk about money. We're going to talk about finances. We have to let you know that, well, we're not giving you financial advice. We're not giving you investment advice. Okay, we're not giving you legal advice, not giving you tax advice. Yeah, all this stuff right on here. I know you all signed the little thing and approved the disclaimer, but here it is again. These results that we're going to show you in these case studies, well, they're projections. They're done on a particular person that we ran these for, but they may differ for you based on age, health, and lots of other factors. So we just have to tell you that what we're showing you is not guaranteed to be exactly what your outcome is going to be. Fair enough? Let's dive in. Let's go into the first law of wealth. And as we show you these different laws of wealth, I want to give you an example. And some of the examples are going to be personal examples. So here they are. Very simply put, these are the 6 laws of wealth. Write them down, and I will tell you what they are. First, pay yourself first. Maybe you know what that means, maybe you don't. In a second, you're going to definitely learn. Second law of wealth, make your money work for you. Third law of wealth, protect your wealth. And I love this one. If you're not first, you're last. We'll explain what that means. Fourth law of wealth, wealth will flee its owner if you pursue unrealistic returns, or wealth will flee you if you pursue greed. That's how I always like to say that. Fifth law of wealth, simple, and every one of you should know this. Solve problems and you will attract wealth. That's it. The goal is to solve a problem. And the final law of wealth, the 6th law, is create a legacy. Share what you know. That's what I'm doing. It's what all my books are for. My books are not written. I have my 6th book. I just finished the manuscript. I don't know when it'll be out, but it's done. Every one of those books, I learned that when I wrote those books, you don't write a book to make money. You write a book to pass on a legacy. You write a book to pass on a message. You write a book to literally forge your vision, your lessons, and what you want the world to know forever. Because a book doesn't die with you, it carries on. And I think you all know that. You've read many, many books that have been around for a long time. So let's kind of just go into this. The first law, pay yourself first. I got some notes on this. Okay, a person who does not learn to keep a portion of their income will never be wealthy, period. The reason this is the first law of wealth is because if you skip this, none of the others work. End of story. I'll repeat that. A person who does not learn to keep a portion of their income will never be wealthy. You see, wealth is not built by income alone. It's built by habits. And this is the first habit we must learn. We live in a society right now, and statistics prove this, where as we make more money, we spend more money. We make money, we spend money. We make money, we spend money. But now, because of credit, we literally have gotten to a point where we make money, that job, that W-2 income, that verifiable income, then gives us the ability to leverage our income and then have credit on top of that. And that credit can be used to go out and live the life that you thought you wanted tomorrow, but you get to live it today at a cost. And I am going to cover that. I want to preface at a cost. And if you continue to live your life at that cost, you will never get where you want to be, because we need to live our lives where we live below our means. You were taught this by your parents, probably. Your grandparents, I'm sure, told you this. You know this inherently, logically. You know you need to live below your means, but yet, and I don't want anyone to admit this, but how many of us actually do that? I can sincerely tell you, because I'm the one speaking, I never did until, I don't know, maybe a decade ago. I was always a saver because I learned to be a saver from my mom, but as I saved, I spent. I'd save up and there was always a goal, and then I'd spend it, a dirt bike, a new car. It was this, it was that. So you save, you spend. You save, you feel good, then you spend, right? And if I were to draw that on the board, I must draw this. Before I do that, let me just explain my little goose. Some of you are looking, oh, wait, don't stop the goose. The goose that lays the golden egg is you. The golden egg is you. The eggs are the watch, the house, the clothes, the car. I just want to preface that. The golden egg is always you, and it always has been. So take care of the golden egg. Fill the golden egg. Feed the golden egg. Make the golden egg healthy. So here's how it works. Here is what building wealth looks like. Now, I know some of you, like, it looks kind of like this. Okay, but let's not get into that. This is what it looks like. Here's what my life used to look like. I would save. Then I would spend and I would buy a car. I would save. Then I would spend and I would buy a house or something. But I just kept doing this. So you get to a point like right here, you feel rich, you feel good, but then you always had this thing that you wanted, so you spend it down. And then you're starting over. You're always starting over in this scenario. So this is how I lived all of my life. I was a saver, which is great. I was always pretty okay at keeping some of the income I made, but I was terrible at managing it. I was very good, like most of you are, at trading hours for dollars. I was very good at that. I would go out and I would work hard. I would hustle. I'd work weekends, do second jobs. I ran businesses, and I was working really hard, and because of that, I made money. But as I made the money, I'd find something that I wanted, I'd spend it. So now it doesn't work that way. Now when I save, I don't have to spend it down because I'm always earning compound interest on all of the money that I make. So when I do spend it, I don't actually spend my money. I do go into debt. So let's just call this bottom part, this is debt, but I go into debt for myself. And then as time goes on, I treat the debt like an honest banker and I pay it back. And notice now, I didn't interrupt that saving. So my saving just keeps going up and compounding. This curve is the compounding curve. And every time I want to buy something, I go into my private banking system, but you see my main curve, my main wealth curve never changes. Before it always did because I would buy and I would spend and I would always go to zero. If this line represents zero, that's what I was always going to, but now it's changed. Not my best drawing I've ever done, but at least you get the point of how you can change that. But let's go back to the first law of wealth. I want to read a couple other things that I have here because this is such an important one. The first law of wealth: a man who learns to live on less than he earns freedom. And when I say freedom, I mean freedom of time. And here's a couple other key points. You can write these down. You can't afford not to follow this principle, period. You cannot afford not to follow this law. This is the one law, and I would say they're all important, but this is the one you absolutely must apply in your life. And if you don't, nothing else I can teach you, almost nothing else I would say almost 100% of what I can teach you will not work. It will fail you because this principle, okay, the income doesn't equal your wealth. A lot of people associate success and wealth with their income. Income does not equal wealth. Retention does, okay? It's the retention of your income that will build wealth, not your income itself. I know a lot of people, Craig, come on, and Steven and everybody else on my team, how many people do we meet? And we literally are talking to them and they're making 250, 500,000. I mean, literally, like some of them are making near $1 million a year. But then when you get deeper, at first you're like, wow, that's so much money. But then when you get under the hood, you're like, oh my gosh, they're making 250, 500, $1 million, but they're broke. Craig, how many times do we see this?
It's a lot. And if you don't mind, I'd like to almost take a little side road here on just nothing specific, but I have these types of conversations often with people. And if you're not paying yourself first, I had a conversation with a gal yesterday that, they want to buy a pool. Sometimes people want to buy a car, or they want to buy this big thing. And if you continue in that pattern where you take your money and you go buy that thing, just like you talked about, you saved it up and you spent it, you're going to be stuck in that loop for your whole life, right? You're just going to be earning and spending, earning and spending. And what I talked about, and I think this comes from Robert Kiyosaki, but he always talked about if you want to buy something, buy an asset that pays for that thing. But if we don't pay ourselves first, we'll never get to the point where we can buy assets that create the cash flow that can then go buy that thing for us. And you hit on something very important earlier about it doesn't happen quickly, but over time, would you rather be in a situation where you have assets buying the things you want or continually working to build up the cash and then go spend it? And
And
I
I think
think,
we're going to show that.
yeah, we're going to show some of that, but it really comes down to people have to kind of delay that thing until they can get the assets.
I love that you said that. And, here's the thing. I hear this all the time. we're talking to people and we're talking about what we do, and they say, well, I can't save now. I'm living paycheck to paycheck. Or they come up with an excuse. And I don't mean to say it's an excuse, but that's exactly what it is. I can't do this because of that. I can't do this because this circumstance. I can't do this because of this person. It's the blame game, right? Let me read you this. And I wrote this down just this morning. If you can't save when you have a little, you can't save when you have a lot. What does that tell you? It tells you that savings has nothing to do with the amount of money you have. It has everything to do with how you view it and your habit. That's all it is. It is just a habit, a principle. And then I go on to say, this goes right along with that, and this is actually from Earl Nightingale. Saving is a matter of discipline, and follow me with this one, and self-respect. I never heard somebody say that, Craig. So savings is a matter of discipline. Yeah, okay, I can understand that. And self-respect. I never thought of savings being self-respect, but it truly is, because it shows you care more about your future being better than it is today. And it's really faith-based, because you got to have faith. That's the one thing that a lot of these folks, and Earl especially, talk about is faith. You know, when people talk about confidence and they talk about success and they talk about a lot of things, you'll always find that faith is a part of it, because you have to believe that it's possible. And if you don't believe that something is possible in your life, that your thoughts and your ideas and your dreams are possible, well, then you just simply are not a person of faith. And I'm not talking about God and Jesus or anything, whatever your religion is. I'm talking about pure faith, the belief that you are capable. Because listen, if we were made in his image, we are capable of anything and everything. And I think there's a lot of things that say that, including the Sermon on the Mount, right? Ask and you shall receive. Seek and you will find. And my favorite one, knock and the door will open. This is one I've been applying most of my life. And then I'm going to get back to the first law of wealth, which is keep the income that you make, or keep a portion of the income. Knock and the door shall be opened. This one's really important, because I've never been very good about that knocking thing. My wife's always saying, hey, you got to go talk to this guy over there. He sold his company for like $80 million. And I think he would be a really good person for you to talk about, seeing as you want to sell a company. And then I wouldn't. But recently, like, I've been on to some things and I've been talking to some folks that normally I would be kind of, I don't want to say reserved about talking to them, but you know, like there's a guy right now who just bought a bank, paid cash for a bank. Okay. Pretty well-to-do guy. And I literally made it my point to knock on that door. And guess what? The door opened. That's right. And the door will open every time you ask. The other day, somebody on a DM sent me a DM. Craig, I sent it over to you. He sent me a DM saying, hey, I know you're super busy and I know you don't know who I am, you know, but I really need to talk to you. I picked the phone up and I called him. And I found out about him. He's a pilot. His wife's going to school to be a dentist, and he's you know, she's getting a bunch of debt by that, and he's got this product he wants to launch. He says, I just don't know where to start. Do I need a financial advisor? Do I need this? No, you just need to believe, and you need to know a path, and you need to have a plan. So we're helping him with that. This is the last one I'm going to do on this. The person who pays themselves first becomes powerful, not because of the number in their account, but because of the discipline behind that number. He becomes confident, steady, independent, and most importantly, free from doubt. But the next one is equally as important, but you need to make money work for you. Here's the second law is, you got to make your money work for you. We've gone through our entire lives being taught, and this is not your fault, this is society's fault, this is just what we've been taught. We've been taught to work for money. We've been taught that we are worth a specific amount per hour, and our goal through life is to increase that amount we're worth per hour. I will tell you this, from standing right where I'm at, I will tell you that your hours are simply priceless. There is no value, no dollar amount that your hour should ever be worth, because it is unlimited how much your hour is worth, because you can't ever get it back. You can always make more money, but you can't make more time. So really, when we really think about our time it's priceless. But yet we have been taught, you know, from a young age. I remember working on a farm, I got paid $2.50 an hour. And I remember I was looking at some of the other guys that I worked with, they were making $5 an hour. I'm like, oh man, if I could only make $5 an hour. And then when I made $5 an hour, what was I doing? Oh man, I can't wait till I make $5.50. Or look at that guy, he makes $6.50. He's on the line. This is back when I was like working for a restaurant. Oh wow, I can't wait till I make that. And then when you made that, it's like, I can't wait till I make 10 an hour, and then 20, and then 25 and 50. And there's a lot of people, and I talk to them, and I see them in my own family, like their whole lives, like they make $20 to $25 an hour. And I'll tell you why they make $20 to $25 an hour. It's not because of circumstances like they want to think. And I'm talking family members here, folks. And if my family members are listening, like, good, you need to hear this. And I would tell this right to your face if you ever, put me in a position where I could. If you make $25 an hour, it's because you only value yourself enough to make $25 an hour, because it's not about how much you get paid an hour. It's about the value you bring to each hour you spend. So if you're working for somebody and you're making $20 an hour, $25 an hour, listen, that's your fault. And I don't mean that in the wrong way. If you bring more value to that hour, if you solve more problems in that hour, you will absolutely be made more money. I will tell you this, and hopefully they don't get mad at me. Craig and Steven, how much do you think I pay them? They are paid based on the value they bring to the hour. The more value they bring to every hour, the more money they make. There is no cap on what they can make. They can make millions of dollars, and they know that, which is why they are focused on a single solitary goal, and that is to solve your problems, not their own. They know their problems. They know what they want to do. I don't even know what their problems are, but I do know that they know how to solve their problem by solving your problem, because they are paid, yes, based on the value they bring to the hour, and they are paid a percentage, which means if they don't bring any value to the hour, they make almost nothing. Think about that. There is no guarantee in their paycheck, zero guarantee. They could wake up tomorrow and be making nothing if they didn't bring value to that hour. They understand that. And there are many of you on here who understand that single thing. The family members that I'm talking about in my life that bitch and moan that they make $25 an hour and that this guy's making 30 and he doesn't deserve it, and this guy gets the company car and he doesn't deserve it. Screw you. Pause and look at yourself in the mirror and reflect on that. It's because you don't bring value to the hour. It's because you're so focused on how much they make per hour, you're not focusing on what you in your life are bringing to the hours you're spending at that company. Key. As we start saving money, we learn that in order for us to reach our goals, we can no longer focus on how much we can make by working for money, because there are only 24 hours in the day for all of us. That does not change. We only have 7 days in the week. Okay? We all have 365 days in a year. It is an equal leveler of all of us. Doesn't matter your talent, doesn't matter your skill, doesn't matter if you have a PhD, and if you do have a PhD, congrats, but also I'm sorry. I don't mean to say it in a bad way, but like, you have the same amount of time as everybody else. So if one person's making more than you are, regardless of circumstances, a big reason for that is some of them have figured out that to make more money, their money has to work for them. Again, go back to law number one. You must keep a percentage of the money you make. That's a first law. If you don't keep money you make, that means you're not saving. If you're not saving, your money can't work for you because you have no money to have work for you. But those of you and all of you who on here who put that percentage in there, think about that. That is your ability in the future to have your money work for you. And if your money works for you, it has no limits. It has no time constraints. Zero. It will work 24/7. No vacations, no bathroom breaks, no sleep, nothing. It needs nothing from you. It needs a direction, and it needs a worthy idea and a worthy cause, and it will just go work for you. And that's the beauty of it, because that buys your time back. And there will come a point for all of you where your money is working at a velocity that you no longer have to work. They call that retirement, I suppose, but most people have retirement completely wrong, and they see retirement as a specific age when I start receiving Social Security, a specific age when the government says I can start accessing my 401k, a specific age when my pension starts paying me a check. You see, freedom of time has nothing to do with your age. Nothing at all. It has to do with when your money works for you at a velocity that allows you to not have to work because your needs are satisfied. And money has a diminishing return. I will be the first to tell you this. All of you and many of you on here have already figured this out. Money has a diminishing return. The more you make at certain levels, you will be making a certain amount of money, and you will realize that money is less and less and less important. You will literally, and Mark my words. You will literally start finding ways to give money away because that drives you, because that giving, that charitable giving makes you happy, because money will not make you happy. The things you buy with money will not make you happy. The 5 Porsches I have, when I'm driving them, they make me happy. But at the end, you got 5, you got 10, like it's a diminishing return. You just do not find happiness in those kind of things. But when we give money to an animal shelter, and Jamie, the woman who owns one of the shelters we give dearly to, calls us up and says, this week we were able to save 10 cats, or this week I found homes and for 5 of the cats, and she sends photos. That is worth more than money will ever buy. Now, just imagine you're donating to a cause like child trafficking or human trafficking, and then you get a phone call saying, hey, your money was just responsible for saving a 5-year-old girl's life. Your money was responsible for bringing a little 5-year-old girl home to her family who thought there was no hope. What is that worth to you? Is there anything in your life ever you could buy that would give you that same feeling? The answer is no, and if anyone says yes, well, you're just simply in the wrong place, or you simply haven't learned what you really need to learn about life. But you will. You will. All right, so I'm going to put a couple quotes here. These are Earl quotes, and I think these are really important, and these are spend less than you make, okay? These are just some different things. This is how freedom is preserved, how wealth is maintained. If you live below your means, you begin to operate from a place of margin, not desperation. That should make a lot of sense, not desperation. You're not wondering how to cover emergencies. You're not reliant on credit cards. This rule becomes your greatest financial defense because it never allows your lifestyle to outpace your income. This is not about restriction, folks. Dave Ramsey teaches you about restriction. I want to be clear. This is not about restriction. This is about direction. You giving direction to your money. You giving direction to your life. You giving direction to your goals, your thoughts, your ideas. Probably a bug that landed on it. It's interesting, folks. We create art here. See this board behind me? What you will find if you watch long enough, the bugs that are in here are attracted to light. They will land on this screen and they will create magical art. We have allowed bugs over a course of a week to land, and we've created the most miraculous art. Anyway, little sidebar. Let's keep going with this. Can you pull that back up?
Yeah, and Chris, I would just wanted to add one thing. When we were talking about law number 1, which is pay yourself first, and then you started talking about making your money work for you, and you kind of shared the family that's making the $25 an hour. I started thinking about my past, and I kind of want to rewind many, many years. I worked for a technology company, and the way they hired people is everybody that was in the office that day would interview this person that comes through the interviewing process. At the end of the day, we'd all get together and we'd talk about, up, down, hire, don't hire. And I remember one day there was this gal coming through that we were going to interview for a receptionist job. I thought she was great. Everyone gave her the thumbs up. Our CEO came in and he said, thumbs down. He vetoed everybody. Just no, I'm not going to hire her. And he goes, you know why? He goes, because she lacks creative initiative. And he said, here's the problem. I asked her what she was doing currently, and she worked as a receptionist at a massage place. And he said to her, what do you do when you're sitting at the desk and there's no one to check in? She goes, I just sit there. And he said, well, shouldn't you be looking for clients that maybe haven't come for a massage in, a month or two, maybe call them, print some flyers, go put them on cars, whatever. But I think that goes back to a lot of what you're talking about with Earl Nightingale and a lot of these things we read where do more than you get paid for. Go solve these problems, these bigger problems. And in this CEO's mindset of what he was trying to teach was have creative initiative. So do more than you're expected to, and bigger things will happen. So I kind of wanted to share that because that was a story from my past, and it made a big impression on me. And I, told my daughters about that. And when you're in a job, do something more than they expect.
Yeah,
And
bring more value to that hour, isn't that? It's awesome, man. Thank
and
you
it
for
is, and
sharing.
I've seen it with my youngest daughter. She's in this job, and she's kind of become a team lead, and the gal that owns a business takes her to these trade shows. Now has got her in the Chamber of Commerce and bring her into all these opportunities because she took that principle of do more than you get paid for. And
I
sometimes
love that.
that's all it takes.
That is all it takes. Speaking of all it takes is, if you like art and you want to get into art, I just wanted to kind of show everybody, this is the latest bug art. Now I know what you're looking at here. Literally, this is just a feature. This is just a component of me leaving the screen on for a couple days and bugs land on it. They crawl around and I don't know how they change the color. And this isn't even one of the best ones, but this is just the most recent one. I'll show more later. But yeah, this is literally a bug landing on the screen, creating this art. And then this is kind of where it started. You can see we had the PMC and it landed. I'm like, oh, let's give them a free or a clean sheet. And we just let them roll, and that's what we got. So anyway,
Wow.
stupid and interesting stuff. But let's continue on with this. Let's go to the third law of wealth, and I'm going to go really fast through these last ones because I want to make sure we get some case studies in here. And I spent a lot of time on the first two because I just feel all the laws are very important, and they're going to be important to some at different levels than they are others. But the other ones just all start to make sense and start to go fit into this little puzzle piece much quicker. This one right here. Protect your wealth. I say this all the time. One of the things I see all the time is I see emotional-based decisions when it comes to investing. And listen, I've seen this a lot in this channel. I'll bring somebody on, people will get emotional about it. They're like, oh, I want to invest in them, but they don't do their due diligence. Here's the single most important thing about protecting your wealth. Please write this down, folks. And Stephen, can you put this in the chat just so people can copy this? Only invest in things that you know, like, and understand. It's that simple. Know, like, and understand. So whatever it is you do for a living, I'm going to pick on Mark Perry. Mark Perry's in the airline industry, so he knows a lot about airplanes, a lot about jet engines, and a lot about all the stuff that you and I don't, because we just sit on the plane. Well, Mark's actually the one that understands the plane. So if Mark were to invest in something that he knows, likes, and understands, he could invest in a company like Boeing. And maybe that's not his, or Rolls-Royce or something like that, something that he works on every day because he knows, likes, and understands it. And then let's just say he's reading something and he finds out that there's unrest, or there's a major push from the Defense Department where they're going to buy a bunch of jets. And let's just say Rolls-Royce is the contractor that's chosen to build the engines for these jets. I'm completely talking out my ass right now, Mark, so please don't fault me for this. It makes sense. Rolls-Royce makes a really good jet engine. I don't know if they find those in these jets, but let's just say the Trump administration and the Defense Department says we're gonna increase our aircrafts by tenfold. That might be a good company to invest in because Mark knows, likes, and understands how that all works. Then he would invest in that. Now, let's just say some of you are real estate investors and you've been on the side of flipping houses, buying rentals, and you've gone the gamut. So you know, like, and understand real estate. So therefore, investing in real estate or lending money on real estate that you know, like, and understand would be a really smart thing. And the other thing too, I want to go in one step further with this. When you look at investments, I would preface, this is probably some of the best advice. I wish I could really drive this home, to a couple people a couple years ago. Never chase the return. Never chase the return. And I'm going to give you a couple quotes on that, but do not chase the return. It's about the slow, steady, consistent, and persistent returns. I'm telling you, I'm going to write a book on this. That's the way. The slow, steady, consistent returns. I am so boring when I invest. I invest only in things I know, like, and understand, and I invest in things that just give me slow, steady returns. Because in the past, probably a lot of you can kind of relate to this. In the past, I've invested because of big returns. And you know what? I've gotten burned. I think it's going to work out on a couple of them. I mean, things are looking bright. I see the light at the end of the tunnel, but it was a very stressful period of time. But, I look at those investments and I say, you know what? Damn, I invested in it because of the return. I got lured in because of the return. Now I knew, like, and understand what I was investing in, and like we did a conference call yesterday about an investment. I more than know, like, and understand what we were investing in because I have money in this investment. We did the conference call, but a weird thing happened. Like this thing that only happens 1 out of 10,000 times, or maybe even more. It's like an anomaly. It happened. But you see, it happened. And to somebody that didn't know, like, and understand the industry, know, like, and understand what it was we were investing in and the risks associated with, it would be a very stressful thing. But because I understand how it works, I'm not as stressed out about it. You see, it works really well. Now, that one was a big return, but also then I want to talk about when you look at an investment with a big return, look at what is the collateral, what's backing it up, what can you sink your teeth into. So real estate's an easy one. You can sink your teeth into the actual property. You can be first position on the mortgage, just like a bank. I always say that, just like a bank. So if you were going to lend on real estate, the most important thing, and I got it right on the screen, is if you're not first, you're last. End of story. I've seen this over and over. We had this one guy on Private Money Club who was a good borrower, but things went wrong, and he raised money in second position, and that means that the investors, they're in second position behind another lender. That's a difficult position because then you're just fighting for the scraps that are left in the equity. For me, and I always preach this, and I make people mad about that, but I like being first. And I always recite the Ricky Bobby thing when he's with his dad. You know, his dad gets kicked out of the school, and his son's sitting there on the steps of the school, and his dad's getting ready to get into his fast race car, and he says, "Son, if you're not first, you're last." I don't know. Shit just sunk in with me. It's just one of those things I never forgot. So I think we're pretty clear on this. The way to protect your wealth is just invest in things that you understand. And when you invest in the things that you understand, don't put all the emphasis on the return. Put them on the meat and potatoes, the nuts and bolts of the investment. What is the collateral? How is this going to be collateralized? What could go wrong? You know, how much risk is this? And what is the risk? What does it look like? What are the chances of me losing everything? What are the chances of me losing 50%? What are the chances of me losing anything? Yeah, understand all those. And then sometimes the risk also can be time. Time risk is a real risk. Like I invest in something that's supposed to pay me out in 6 months or a year, and then all of a sudden I'm stuck in it for a couple of years. Like that's time risk. That's a real risk. Understand the risks of the investments you get into. Let's keep going. This one I love. And this is the one that I feel is most violated. The fourth law of wealth right there. Wealth will flee its owner if pursuing unrealistic returns. This is just greed. That's all this is. And it kind of goes into the first one, protect your wealth. Well, this one's almost a continuation. And what I write about this one, and I did this whole 6 laws of wealth. It's part of my TEDx talk, which is a letter I wrote to my daughter about the 6 laws told in parables. You can all watch that on my YouTube, or just type in Rethink Money, TEDx talk, Rethink Money, a letter to my daughter, because it's a real letter. The things that I see people doing is they're chasing hot tips. Okay, somebody gives them a hot tip. This crypto is going to go to the moon. This stock's going to go to the moon. NVIDIA is going to go to the moon. And you hit it good on that one, but it's not always going to be. I mean, Burry just shorted the shit out of NVIDIA, so he knows something more than I do. Trying to time the markets, okay? It's something that's very difficult to do. Following TikTok gurus, how to, that's how you lose wealth. The way you prevent this is through humility. I hate to say that, but through humility. Wealth will flee its owner. That is not good. Okay, wealth will flee its owner if you chase unrealistic returns. And in order to discipline yourself, it really comes down to humility. It really does. Patience. That's something a lot of people don't have anymore, is patience. You know, I'm reading a book right now. Munger is in the book. Charlie Munger, the late Charlie Munger was Warren Buffett's partner. And he talks about there's a whole part where he's talking about how they've been successful. And you know what the single ingredient is? It's almost a 1 ingredient dish. Time. Tip. They invested in companies that they knew, that they liked, that they understood, and they spent a lot of time doing due diligence. They found companies that were undervalued, that had, value adds, that they felt like they could bring value to those companies. And then all they added, the last ingredient, which was the one he says is the single reason for their success, time. They had a long time horizon. They weren't looking for a return like a PE firm would, or a private equity firm, where they're trying to get in and out, trying to pump and dump. They always played a really long game. Sometimes like multi, what was the word? Multiple lifespans. So they invested in companies like Coca-Cola, not for returns that they would get during their life, but for literally multiple generations. Craig, anything you'd have to say on this law?
No, I think you've hit it really well. I mean, it's one of those things where, if you don't know, like, and understand what you're doing, and you chase these big opportunities that have great promises, I mean, you will lose. And I think, Yvonne mentioned, be a turtle, slow and steady. And I was just thinking about the turtle itself. It keeps moving forward, but when it needs to, it goes into its shell, it's protected. So I think we could almost look at the turtle to cover these two laws together.
Yeah. And one of the things I want to do real quick is if you could stop, hang on one sec before you stop sharing. Let me put my my outfit on here.
Okay.
Because it's about time we get into Christmas in July. And I think that time is right now. So if you could stop sharing that, I'm just gonna, because some of you weren't here earlier, but I got my nice little outfit on, and I'm just gonna play a little snippet of a video here. Some of you saw this at the beginning, but I'm gonna play it yet again because I think it's important that we all see this one more time. All right. So were you naughty or were you nice this year? Because after Christmas, are you going to be buried in coal, or are you going to have all the things you asked Santa Claus for? Well, one of the things I know for a fact because of this survey is most families are going to go in debt. Yes, that's what's going to happen. We're going to get buried in not just coal, but also debt because of Christmas.
Cheap, lying, no good, rotten fork.
But wouldn't it be cool? Wouldn't it just be awesome if for Christmas we all could get all the money back for all the gifts we buy our little ones? Yeah, that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about how you're going to get all the money back for every Christmas gift that you buy, give, and love this Christmas season. All right, there it is. It is Christmas in July, and we have an offer for you. We don't do this all that often, but we felt like now was the time because there's only a couple days left. Stephen, would you like to tell everybody what they have won today on Wealth Webinar?
And this is Christmas in July. We threw this together in the last hour, so it's fun. But you got the costume, so we had to make it happen, and super excited for it. So what we're gonna do for everyone, a little Christmas in July, we're gonna invite all of you to our next live and in-person event, which is going to be in Orlando, Florida, November 7th and 8th, which is a Friday and Saturday. So highly recommend you arrive on Thursday. We'll have a little VIP get together Thursday evening. The event kicks off first thing Friday morning, goes all day Friday, right into 6 p.m. in the evening. Then we go out Friday night, Saturday right back in at 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. 2 full days. We have a brand new lineup, never seen before. Speakers and experts are going to be there for the 2 days. It's going to be our best event yet. This is called Private Money Club's Money Tank event, Orlando, Florida, November 7th and 8th. So what we're doing for everybody, that's on for our Christmas in July celebration, and we're going to give you guys a special little discount and give away some things. All right. So first off, let me just make sure we're on the same page. So Orlando, Florida, November 7th and 8th, Connect, Fund, Scale, the event that changes everything. We have so many testimonials, so many people that come to this event. We do it twice a year. They come, every single one of them. Just excited. It's going to be in Orlando, Universal Studios, one of their resort properties. Going to be an amazing time. Let me play this quick video, Chris. Is that all right? Just to kind of get a feel for it?
Sure.
You all right?
He's been on the fence to come to PMC Money Tank. I'm telling you right now, you're missing out on a treat.
This is the ultimate watering hole for lenders and borrowers.
If you've got decent deals, you'll find the funding for it.
The networking here has been fantastic.
Absolutely phenomenal.
Tremendously beneficial.
Oh my gosh, so many people to network with.
First day, I probably met 5 or 6 people. They show me ideas, I show them ideas. We're actually on stage about 20 minutes ago, and since then, I've already had about 20 people reach out.
There are several people that I probably will be doing business with.
I have like 15 private lenders ready to fund my deals. The people here are amazing and so welcoming.
You walk in, everyone greets you right away. No one is a stranger.
It's just an amazing and comfortable place to be.
There's so much stuff that I've been able to learn that I didn't know. I've had aha moments over and over again.
They talked about normal rates of return, not 6%, we're talking about 10%, but in a way that's ethically sound and stable. It's full disclosure, but helps walk you through everything.
They even talk about it on stage of like, we've already made the mistakes, so here we are, and we're teaching you to not make the same mistakes. You get to learn from us, you get to just follow our direction and just see what you can do. I've gotten great things out of the virtual events, but there's no comparison to actually coming here, experiencing the energy, and getting to meet all of the people.
Everyone is here looking to grow in some capacity. Being in this environment, it allows you to feed on that and foster that.
During the event, they had a lender-borrower meet and greet, which is pretty cool.
It's different when you can spend some time, have a meal together, hang out, joke around. The people are just a blast.
It's so much fun.
The community of the Money Tank PMC, the whole crew with Chris, Steven, Jonah, everybody, and Joe, they've all helped me out. It's been changing my life.
You're gonna learn something, you're gonna meet someone, and it's definitely gonna make a big difference in your business. Not by a little bit, but by a lot.
I mean, you could stay stuck thinking you can do it on your own. Was a lot of people that I talked to is their issue, and then they come here, and I talked to them a year later, and they've grown so much just by coming to this event. Started at $15,000 in credit card debt. As of today, I have $550,000 out in private lending. That's what this teaches you.
I tell people all the time, you have to get in the room to be around the like-minded people.
Go. It's worth it.
Just come. Do it for yourself. Do it for your business.
Take action. You got to do it.
Come to the event, you don't want to miss it.
All right, good stuff. So those of you that are wanting to attend, very simple here. Just go on over to privatemoneyclub.com/money tank. Gives you all the details. You know, it's going to be at the Lowe's Sapphire Universal Studios Resort. I know a lot of people are bringing their families, even if they don't plan on coming to the educational sessions in the ballroom. It's a beautiful resort, a bunch of swimming pools right at Universal Studios, a bunch of Universal deals just for staying at the resort as well available. So let your family enjoy themselves there at nighttime with you, and you can be in the room learning, educating, building relationships, and making your money move and work for you. That's what these laws of wealth are all about at the end of the day. So you go right here, you click reserve ticket. These are early bird ticket prices. These prices are going to go up on the site. So this is the Christmas in July special, $9.97 for GA, $14.97 for VIP. But what we're going to do for all of you that are on right now is we decided that we're going to do $200 off that GA price, or $400 off VIP, which I would highly suggest, because we do have, like I said, the Thursday evening, and we're gonna do something Friday night, and we always do special stuff for the VIPs. And then, Chris, one more thing for Christmas in July, for the first 10 people that buy tickets today, so do it quick, do it while we're on here. The first 10 people, we're gonna give you one of these custom BYOB PMC hats that I'll put on the screen right there so you guys can see that. So really cool hat. We're going to ship those for free along with your ticket purchase to the first 10 people that buy tickets today. So I'll put the discount codes over in the chat box, and as soon as I do that, we'll track the first 10. We'll get those hats sent out, and I look forward to seeing all of you that buy tickets in Orlando November 7th and 8th. Chris, good stuff, man.
Awesome, man. All right, that's Christmas in July, and I am sweating from having this stuff on. So Steven's going to throw that link up in the chat, so all of you are interested in doing that, and also the discount code so that you can get that $200 off or $400 off.
That's a hell of a costume, though. Usually I'm the one dressing up, so I'm loving this. This is great. That's what I usually look like. All right.
Getting warm, getting warm. All right, let's keep going with this, and then we're going to get into some case studies here in just a second. So the fifth law of wealth is solve a problem for someone else. Okay, that's the best way to wealth. If you solve a problem for somebody else, that's always going to be what's going to really make the mark. And that's the biggest thing I can tell you in my life that I figured out is I was always trying to solve my own problems, and then my problems never got solved. But then all of a sudden I changed all my focus. Somebody said, give your best stuff away for free. And that's what we did. Hence where this webinar comes from. And the 6 other webinars and the thousands of YouTube videos, give your best stuff away for free. Solve somebody's problem. This entire team, when you get on the phone with us for one of our strategy calls with the money mentors, the number one goal, and I know this is going to feel weird for some of you because you're so used to when you get on the phone, you're trying to be sold. Our number one goal is, can we solve your problem? And if we can't, we will tell you. And if we can't, we'll tell you, like, here's the reasons why this isn't going to work, but here's what I would try. So we always are solving problems. And if you, in your business, in your life, are not out there solving someone else's problem, then you are stunting your growth. And also be very grateful. You know, every morning I wake up, I put my hands together and I just say, Dear Lord, thank you for this day. Very simple, but you show gratitude, because when you put gratitude out there, there's something that happens. Okay, it's kind of that old saying, you know, when you give, you get, but you can't focus on the get. It's the same idea. You just put gratitude out. Put gratitude out to every single person you work with and show them that you're there to solve their problem. Ask them how you can serve them. Greg Reed always does that. How can I serve you? I think these are great, great things to really build into what you're doing and build into your lifestyle. And then before I get to the final law number 6, which is build a legacy, because that one I want to just take a second. I want to hit on a couple things here, a couple little quotes that I had written down, because I'd be remiss if I got through this whole thing and I didn't go into them. And one of them is, throughout our journey and all these different laws that I'm talking about, you have to really guard your earning power. I don't need to say a lot about this because you're all doing this. You don't know it, but every single one of you on here, you're guarding your earning power because you're trying to expand what you know. You're expanding what you're doing. Your ability to earn is the foundation of your financial life. Earning power is your capacity to bring value into the marketplace. And then it goes on to say, you don't get paid for the time, you get paid for the value you bring to the time. I already said that one. And guard your earning power by becoming the man or woman who can solve problems. You see, these quotes I'm reading you right now are from Earl Nightingale. What I just told you a second ago, that's straight from me, and then I derived that from the book, The Richest Man in Babylon. So you can see how all this stuff fits into one another, because I'm just reading you the things that were said from Earl. That was done decades ago. And these are all things you're learning today. You see, these are principles. These are laws. These aren't, you know, little tidbits of info. This isn't wholesaling real estate or the hot new thing to do. These are tried and tested laws, principles to live by, things that no matter who you are, where you're at, how old you are, where you live, these work. And they have for hundreds and hundreds of years, probably since the beginning of mankind. And let's see, this is one thing he says. Here's the real secret. When you focus on value, your income becomes limitless. He said, you become a producer, a generator, and a producer always gets paid. Make it a rule to invest more in yourself than you do in distractions. One day your investments will grow, your savings will compound, your opportunities will grow, but not without the fuel that you bring to yourself, which is your earning power. Earning power is either growing or shrinking. Make sure yours is growing by design. And another thing that Earl talked about, which I think is important, because right now we're at a weird point in time in history where debts are at all-time highs. We're living in a world of debt. Okay, we have jobs, therefore we can get credit, therefore we can use credit cards to buy the things and live the life that we only once dreamed of. But once we start living those, there's consequences with that debt. Earl talks a lot about it, and what we're going to show you in a second is a really simple, tried and tested mathematical formula that Craig's put together to eliminate debt. We call it the debt blaster. But here are some of the things. Never take on debt unless it helps you make more than it costs. Now, Kiyosaki talks about this all the time. He talks about good and bad debt, right? There's good debt and there's bad debt. And it's very simple to determine which one's which. Good debt earns money, okay? Spreads. It's everything we talk about. Like some of you might call the loan from the insurance company or the loan from the policies that we take, that they call that debt, okay? But that is good debt, because that debt allows you to earn more money because you're making a spread. Another thing that he talks about with debt is, he said, debt is a psychological burden. And I couldn't agree more with that. It reduces your options. It forces decisions based on obligations, not opportunities. I want you to write this down, folks. Stephen, type this, or someone type this in there. This is a good one. It reduces your options. We're talking about debt. It reduces your options. It forces decisions based on obligations, not on opportunities. If your debt purchase does not bring you income, you do not need it. End of story. That is the thing. And here's the thing. I know that means that some of you aren't going to live the life you want now. And you're like, oh, there's only so much time. I need that now. I want to enjoy life to its utmost fullest. Now listen to me on this one. And this is not Earl. I wrote this down. I said, those who stand alone today are the ones people and society seek out tomorrow. I'm going to tell you a personal story, and then we're going to move on to legacy in the case studies. I don't know how long ago it was. Stephen knew me around this time. There was a period of time where I was literally the underdog. I'd go to these masterminds as the nobody. I was building and working on a master plan, a big plan, a plan that was not one that quickly developed. And I'd be in these rooms with these real estate investors that were saying, oh, they're making millions and this, and they're doing that. And I'm this little guy. Like, and I always felt weird. We always did these hot seats where I'd have to kind of announce my numbers and do it. And I was embarrassed, but I did it. And I always, when I gave my numbers, they weren't impressive. Sometimes there were losses, but I always told them my vision. Here's what my vision is. Here's what I'm building, and here's how I'm doing it. And, you know, they kind of would just move past it, and everybody's attention would go to the guy who's making the most. And did you know something? Those guys that were making the most then, that were chasing the quick dollar, that were chasing the hot objects, many of those people are no longer in those masterminds because they went broke. But although I was the one standing alone during those times, today, I certainly can tell you that I am the one that people and parts of society seek out for information about how money works. But it's taken me over a decade to get there, probably longer. So sometimes you just need to understand you're going to stand alone. People aren't going to believe in you. Your family's not going to believe in you. Everybody's going to call you an idiot. They're going to say your ideas are stupid. If you allow them to dictate your future, well, just understand you're conforming to their failed reality, their failed perception, and their failed dreams. Because your dreams, your goals are yours and yours alone. Stick to them, follow them. Your worthy idea, never forget it. Don't listen to people, just hide. That's the best thing I can say. Just hide from others. Don't talk about it. If you don't want the advice, if you don't want to hear what they have to say, don't talk about it. And I say that because if you go and you tell your family members about infinite banking and about privatized banking and all the stuff we teach, most of them are going to be like, that's stupid. Dave Ramsey said that's the dumbest thing you could ever do. Stupid is as stupid does. That was a wise man that once said that. Opportunities seem to find you not because they were not there all along, but because the door was closed. And then I always repeat, knock and the door shall be opened. The final thing I want to talk about in the laws is throughout your life, focus on building a legacy. Now, I'm not talking about leaving cars or houses or money behind. I'm talking about a legacy that outlives all of that, because the cars will get old and fade off into the distance and somebody won't care about them. The house will get old and be sold and nobody will remember that you guys lived there as a family. The money in the bank will be spent down and nobody will remember what effort and what pain and struggle you went through to build that money. But the legacy you leave, which are the lessons you teach, they will never die. The wisdom you leave behind to your children, the wisdom you leave behind to those you care about, that will live well beyond you. So when you think about a legacy, I know we think about the death benefit that the insurance companies pay out and all the money that we leave, but really focus on what is your ultimate legacy? What is it you want to be remembered for? How is it that you want future generations to remember grandma or grandpa? And here's mine. I'm just going to give you my idea. I know that when I'm gone, you know, I'm an old dad. Okay, 48, Vivi's 5, so you can do the math, right? I won't see a lot of Vivi's life, unfortunately, but that was my choice. But here's the thing I know. I know that I'm going to leave behind a legacy. I'm going to leave behind books. I'm going to leave behind a letter that I wrote her. And the newest book that I wrote, which actually I kill myself off at the end of the book. I know that sounds morbid, but you have to read the book when it comes out. Like, I die at the end of the book, but it's about that legacy. That is my ultimate gift. It's called Share. Okay, that's the new title of my new book. But in that book, the legacy I leave behind is not just money and wealth, because really what I'm going to leave behind is a foundation with millions of dollars in it that she will have to then run and do good for others for. She'll have to give. And that's the single most important thing. But the other thing I'm doing, and this is kind of a unique little thing that I think it makes me feel good about what I'm doing today, is no matter how much time passes after I'm gone, no matter what child, my trust, this is all going to be in my trust, the language in there, no matter what child is born into my bloodline, on their birthday, they are going to receive a card and a check. Every year, a card and a check will be sent from Grandpa Chris. Now, you can just imagine multiple generations down the line, these kids don't even know who Grandpa Chris is. They barely have seen a photo of him. Nobody talks about him. Nobody even knows who Grandpa Chris is. But when a check shows up on their birthday every year from Grandpa Chris, they will never forget me. They will ask questions. You know, what did Grandpa Chris do? How was he able to provide these checks to all of us and every child into perpetuity? It's because I set up a system, a private banking system that can never, ever falter or fail. because every generation feeds the family banking system. Every generation uses the family banking system to generate income, to live their lives, to build their businesses, to do everything. But every generation feeds into it. And every child that is born into the bloodline is required to have the trust take out a life insurance policy on them, a specially designed and engineered whole life that then, indeed, when they live their lives to the fullest and pass away, a death benefit will be paid back to the trust, fueling the next generation and fueling those checks on every grandchild's birthday. That's my legacy, amongst others. So what is yours? So think about that. Now, what I want to do is I want to turn this over, and I turn it over to Craig, and I want to show you some really important things that we've been working on, and show you how some of these different laws of wealth can be translated over into application and case studies.
Yeah, and Chris, before I share out, one of the things I was kind of thinking about is, with what we do every day with infinite banking is recruiting these specially engineered and designed policies for people to build their banking systems. And I thought, I don't really have anything built for this, but I think in discussion we can talk about it. How does that fit in with the 6 laws of wealth? And when you think about starting a policy for either you, your family, your children, aren't you adhering to the first law, which is pay yourself first?
Mhm.
Right? So when we think about what we're building here is, when you're paying yourself first, we're simply saying there's a better place to store that money as opposed to a savings account or something of that nature. So the policy fits check mark number 1, we're paying ourselves first. We can put it into the policy. Now, 2, can we make our money work for us? And I have some slides, but I don't know if you even want to draw this on the board, but how do we make our money work for us in this thing we teach called infinite banking? And it's really all about that uninterrupted compounding while we're doing something else with that money. Now, that something else could be getting rid of some of those debts in our lives. It could be putting that money to work in, Steven just played the commercial, the private money club. A lot of us take our cash value and put it to work in these opportunities. But you want to do something, as we mentioned, that like, and understand. So let's kind of draw out what that circle of life looks like in terms of, if you pay yourself first, then how do we put our money to work in one of these specially designed and engineered whole life policies?
Yeah, I got it drawn on the screen there, Craig. Big circle.
All right. Yep. So we're keeping dollars in the policy, and what's happening in there while we've got money in those policies. And this is one of those things that we gloss over, but I just really want to make a point of it is, when you fund those policies with premiums and you take a loan, it does not, in the companies we use, it does not stop the compounding of that money. So think about that. If I have a savings account, I put $10,000 in, I remove 10,000, I'm no longer earning interest. If I put $10,000 into this system and then I leverage it with a loan, that 10,000, that money is still going to be compounding and growing for the rest of my life, or the rest of, the insured person's life. So
Craig,
step 1 is, yep, go ahead.
Let me just add to that. One thing that I found a lot of people, I'm on Christy Vans all the time, and she said this is what really resonates. She said that's a lot like a home equity line of credit. She said when people have equity in their house and they want to tap into it, they go to a bank and they get a home equity line of credit. And the bank, a lot of jumps or hoops to jump through, but they give that home equity line, usually about 80%, and then you can access that equity, but it doesn't interrupt the appreciation of the house value. So your house is still appreciating, at least you hope it is, and then when you use the equity in the house through the HELOC, you can use that to go make money a second time. So she said that really resonated. She said the only downside to the home equity is not everybody's going to qualify for one. Not only that, the interest rate right now on home equity lines is like 8 to 10%. So it's a pretty high cost to use your money. And I thought that made a lot of sense, because that's a lot like how the policies work. Because when you're borrowing money, you're not using your cash flow, you're using the insurance company's money. They're loaning you part of your death benefit while you're living. And the other thing too that's different is when you have a home equity line of credit, you have to make monthly principal or monthly interest payments to the bank every single month. with your private banking system, the policy, you don't have to make payments every single month at all. Matter of fact, the insurance company never would ask you for the loan back. Now, that doesn't mean don't pay it back just because they don't ask for it. It just means you have a lot more flexibility here with the insurance companies than you do with any banks.
So step 2, we're going to now leverage that as a loan, and we're going to put the proceeds of that into what we call a segregated bank account, because the insurance companies are not like a bank where you're transactional, where you can get money in and out every day. It's just, what we're doing is we're taking a loan and then we're putting it into one of our temporary intermediate bank accounts we call a segregated bank account before we go put it to that opportunity. So now you've leveraged this policy, you put it into an opportunity, and what are some of the opportunities we could talk about out there with private lending? I mean,
Well, I think the first one that you're going to mention is debt. Like, I know nobody really thinks of their debt as being an opportunity, but we always say, hey, we're going to show you how to build wealth through your own debts and expenses. And that is the truth, because I can't think of any investment that somebody can make that has a better return than the investment of paying off your debt.
Yep.
It's the best investment anyone makes, and it's guaranteed.
So then once we have that money running in that circle of money, then we'll run it back into the policy essentially. So in the terms of an opportunity, let's just say you've got 100,000 out there working, maybe it's 50,000 working at 12%. So now you're recapturing that $1,000 a month or that $500 a month, whatever it's going to be, back into your policy. So that dollar went around this whole circle and it was not interrupted in its compounding in the policy. Then you took it out to an opportunity to make more money and it just came right back into the policy. That's what we're talking about.
We're not calling this, Craig, this is key. Like, when I used to call the recapture a loan repayment to the insurance company, people didn't like that. Nobody likes, oh, I got to repay the loan. Oh, thought I didn't have to do that. So we renamed it. It's called recapture. All you're doing is recapturing money that you were giving away before, money that the bank was holding before, money you weren't controlling before. You're recapturing it into your own private bank. So really, this is all you're doing is you're taking money that you're giving away and you're just recapturing it. And then you're recycling it as well. Recapture and recycle the money you're giving away. And that is how you build wealth through your debts and expenses. Love it, Craig.
Yeah, so I know we've got about 10 minutes left. We can quickly show a couple use cases, but the important thing is I wanted to do, since we talked a lot about mindset today, is if you walk away with those 6 laws of wealth in your back pocket and you understand what we just went through with the flow of money, to me, I think we call this day of success in our wealth webinar. But if you want to stick around, I can run through what it looks like to pay down debt. I can show you what it looks like to invest. So I know we've got limited time, but do you think we should run through that today?
Well, I don't know. Let's ask the audience. First off, Stephen, can you put up the link again for people to buy those discounted, Christmas in July tickets to Money Tank with the discount code? And also, can you throw up the link for if people want to jump on a call with one of our money mentors to talk about their needs and goals and see if we can solve their problem? So we're going to put those up there for you really quick, folks, so that if you can't make it, then you've got what you need. You now have the Christmas offer, Christmas in July offer, and because some people are gonna think you're crazy, it's not Christmas. And then you've got the link to book a call. But how many of you would like, if Craig runs through these case studies, you willing to stick around for a few minutes?
Looks like we have a number of people saying go for it. So we're not going to go deep into it today. We have other trainings out there on this, but I'll at least introduce what we're talking about here. And I don't know, as when I was putting this together, just kind of a different path here, but think about who controls money and the way the bankers control the money. When it's sunny out, they'll give you an umbrella. When it's raining, they want their umbrella back. So just think about that in terms of how accessible is bank money and getting loans when we're in recessions or tough economic times. So anyway, we'll skip over that. One of the things that we do, so if you were to book a call with our team and you happen to have debts, you have credit card debts, you have car loan, you might have personal lines of credit, you might have HELOCs. One of the things that we'll do with you is review that debt and figure out, is there a more efficient way to pay that off? And we call that the debt blaster. So for anyone out there that has debt and you want to schedule a call, Stephen, if you can put I see you put that out there, Chris, already. There's a link where you can schedule a call with our team. We'll go through this on your specific situation of how it's going to work. But essentially, this is what we're going to do is we're going to get your debts organized and put them into, I guess, a couple strategies. The first strategy would be no strategy. And a lot of people come to us and they don't have a strategy. And what I mean by that is if you've got a bunch of debt, you might be making the minimum payments, maybe you're paying a little extra. But the way most people pay debts is that when this Discover card is gone, they'll take that 161 and just go spend it. All right, so that 161 gets rolled into the operational budget. Maybe you go out to eat more often, whatever you're going to do with that money, you go do with it. What we're teaching is that what if we take that 161 when you're done paying Discover and you put it on to the Wells Fargo card, and then you take the 161, the 271, add that to the 287, pay the lows. And that's commonly known as snowball. There's another strategy, which is avalanche. There's another one called cash flow index. And one of the things it will do is will help you figure out which one of those should you be using based on your numbers, because sometimes ordering the debt smallest balance to highest balance is the most efficient. Sometimes looking at the interest rates is most efficient. So there's some different strategies out there. So if nothing else, if you book a call with our team, we're going to get your debts organized and help you kind of see what's the best way to pay those off. However, we don't want to stop there, because the third option is, what if we were to bring infinite banking into the picture and show you what that looks like? So if you were able to save $500, maybe you're able to save $1,000 a month. I don't know what that is for you, but what would that look like to run that through a policy, leverage the policy, so we now have the uninterrupted compounding, and we start paying extra towards those debts. That's essentially what we're teaching with the debt pay down. However, it does require paying yourself first by being able to fund the policy, and then we put that money to work. So here's what it would look like. If you did option one, which is those were your debts and you're just going to pay them off one by one by one, it would take about 75 months to pay all those debts off, and you would pay almost $35,000 in just interest cost out to Discover and Amex and the car dealer. If you were to structure those debts in a snowball or avalanche methodology, you're going to knock your debt pay down from 75 months to 45 months. You'll knock down your total interest from 35,000 to 26,000. So everyone I talk to says, Craig, I'll take option two. However, it's going to take you being disciplined to continue that plan of not spending that money when one debt's gone. Okay, so that option two is going to take a little more discipline. For the people that do have savings and you can start a policy, then we can show you what option three looks like. And I'm just going to pause here for a minute, because I work with a lot of folks where I have to say, well, we're not ready for option three, but if you execute an option two for the next 6 months, free up some cash, then we can start the infinite banking piece. So option three may not be available right now. Maybe it's 6 months, maybe it's 9 months, maybe it just takes you a couple debts to get those out of the way, and then we can free up some cash. However, if we were using infinite banking and we're using a specific, funding of a policy, we can knock that third-party debt pay down from 45 to 35 months. So that's pretty cool, because we'll get rid of the Discover and Amex and the credit cards and the BMW payment and everything else in 35 months. But guess what we're going to do? Remember that circle that Chris drew? We recapture back into the policy. So for the next 9 months, we're simply going to pay those same payments back into the policy to fill it back up. We're going to fill up our available cash value again. So we still have a debt cycle of about 44 months, which includes paying off all the third-party debts and repaying our banking system. With this specific policy design, we didn't get into a lot of the details on that. We're going to have some cash value at the end of this debt cycle. We're going to have death benefit during our debt cycle. We're going to pay less interest than we would otherwise in option one and two. So this is where we then have a next level of conversation of you not only have, you know, some cash flow, maybe you're spending $2,000 or $3,000 or $1,500 on debts. Now that money's free in your environment, plus you have cash value saved up in your policy. That's when we move into maybe private money lending or investing in something you know, like, and understand, or starting your own business and funding it yourself. So those are all the things that we're teaching. And if you jump on a call with us, we'll help you kind of sort out. So that's the first thing, is just the debts. Chris, were there any questions or anything we can answer in more detail on that?
No, I think all I'd like to do is just kind of pose a question. Like, you guys are all seeing this. You're like, wow, that's great. What if you had the control to go in and just monkey with something like this yourself? Put your debts into a software that allowed you to kind of see the mathematics under different scenarios. Would that be helpful? If it would, put, I don't know, put the in the chat. And that very well might be happening, because this was the precursor to something really big that Craig and I are working on. But no, I think you nailed it there.
Yeah, and I see Terry put the in, and Terry's already experiencing that. So she's doing some of that herself already. But so just so everyone in the community knows, stay tuned. You know, Chris and I have been working on some pretty cool stuff, and we've got the ability for you to kind of do some self-servicing on this. It's coming soon. We're just not ready to open it up completely.
The last thing I have, because I got to do this just because it's going to play out really well just by accident. So you all said there, that you would like that. But now what if you could aggregate in, just like back in the day, the video games where you had turbo boost, you know, with the dirt bike game, you'd hit the turbo button, you keep hitting until you ran out. What if you had that same thing, but it was the CV boost, the cash value boost? So what if you could, you know, model your own scenario, your own debt pay down, your own gain, you know, investment that you're trying to do, your own purchase you're trying to do. And then you wanted to see, what would this look like if I used my cash value to fund this, and I use my own policy, and you click CV boost. How many of you would like that? And if you would, put vault after in the chat.
So imagine, if you will.
Real quick, sorry. Frank mentioned, don't forget to mention that the insurance company charges interest on those loans. Don't forget that. That's simple interest they charge.
That is correct. So in this system that we're building, that everyone would be able to, you know, to get in there and use it soon. This is just a sample set of debts, but let's say you've got a store credit card, you've got a personal credit card, you got some medical debt, personal loans, car loans. This is just a place for you to be able to put all your debts into the system. Here's the beautiful thing about it. You put your debts in there, the software is going to figure out what is the best strategy for you: debt snowball, debt avalanche, cash flow index. And it also tells you, if you don't use any strategy where you're not aggregating those debt payments, how long is it going to take you to pay your debts off, and how much interest are you giving away? So what we're simply showing you is step one is, how do you become more efficient with your debts? So we're saying use the snowball in this case. And actually the snowball, the other methods are still pretty similar. Now, let's say that you've got a car loan and it's from your brother-in-law, and he's threatening to break your kneecaps if you don't get it paid off soon. So you can drag that up, even though we're saying mathematically it makes a lot more sense to pay that off later. You can drag that up to the top of the list, and it'll say, well, you just built a custom strategy. It's going to take you a little more interest to pay it off that way, but now you get that debt out of your life. So anyway, that's the first step. And then what we're doing is, if you have infinite banking and you have a policy, you can come in here and say, well, I've got this policy that I want to use for my cash value boost. So if we take this policy and we take the cash value, we take the loan to use the cash value, I'm going to activate my cash value boost. And then it says, well, if you use your policy, you can get those debts paid off in 75 months versus 104. It's going to take you a total of 100 months to pay everything back, because we're going to spend the next 25 months paying back the policy loan. So 75 months for third-party debts.
For Frank, that is paying the policy loans back to the insurance company with interest.
Yes.
Because you're making that interest payment to the insurance company as well.
And this is the thing, at the end of the day, we're going to show you what the interest cost was, which includes the interest we paid to the third-party debts plus the interest that went to the insurance company. And so you can see if you do nothing, it's going to cost you about close to 52,000 in interest. If you do the snowball, it'll take you about 38,000 in interest, but running it through infinite banking, we're paying about 27,000 in interest. So you've been able to save almost 24 grand in just interest charges. Now, here's the beautiful thing about it is you go down to the very bottom and it's prescriptive. If it's October 25, what do I pay to my store credit card? What do I pay to my personal credit card? What do I pay to my medical debts? And it's just going to show you what to do and how to do it.
The best part about this, and this isn't going to be right when we launch, but eventually this will actually API in with a bank account. We're going to have a preferred bank account that's going to be tied to it, where then from here you can just set up your bill pays. Like you can literally just go in because of the API and just click and set them up. But for the launch, how it will work is you'll just go to your bank account, build in this prescriptive payback, and it tells you exactly how to do it. Just build bill pays into your bank platform and just then have the bank do all the work and send the checks to the debtors, and this is exactly what will transpire. But Craig, there's always something, I always got to be the Debbie Downer. There's always a scenario where someone has to go off, their prescribed medication or their prescribed plan. Like, I don't know, I lent money to Stephen Nagy. Stephen Nagy becomes a real asshole and wants his money back. And, I got him down at the bottom to be paid off last. And he's like, no, I need my money now. So I got to pay this nasty guy, Stephen, off because he won't stop blowing my phone up. Like, what happens if I got to blow this plan up and just change it all?
You just drag it around. You drag your debts around. You can go in and edit the amounts. And maybe what you need to do is instead of paying Steven 180, you have to pay him 250. So you can go in and edit this and it'll recalculate everything for you.
Love it. So Steven, eat your heart out.
Eat your heart out, Steven. So, if Steven's threatening to take your kneecaps out, then, that's what you're going to do.
And we could spend a whole wealth webinar showing you all the features of this, but this is sort of just one quick glance at the debt blaster functionality, and it just goes way further than this. We didn't even get into the loan officer, we didn't get into the management of the policies, and we didn't get into aggregation software pieces. But I mean, it is just amazing software. It is extremely easy to use, and it is absolutely fully functionable with AI. We have built AI Chris into the entire thing. So no matter what it is you need to do on the site, AI Chris can help navigate you, help give you info. Heck, if you want to know what we think of Dave Ramsey's debt snowball, you can ask AI Chris and you'll get an answer. Hey, when will my policies be at the efficiency point? How much cash flow will I have at year 10? AI will drive this engine for you because, hey, that's the future we're in and that's the future where we're going. So we're getting ahead of it all and building AI right into the beginning phase of the software, the vault. And the other thing I really love about it is we're literally 3 years ahead of schedule on this thing. Not ahead of development schedule, but we had a development happen with one of the carriers where we found out they have the ability to API in the data. So for the first time ever in history, we will be the first software out there that aggregates with an insurance company to give you daily views of your policy values, your death benefit, and if you took a loan the day before, in one day, the system will automatically update, show your loan, and then you can build in and change anything you want. So this is a first of its kind. Nothing like this has ever been created before. And folks, you're seeing the real quick sample of it, and I appreciate it because now, hey, listen, like all these folks, they wanted something for Christmas because it's July, Christmas in July. So not only do we give you the offer for Money Tank with the hat offer, now we gave you the sneak peek at the vault. Craig, you want to wrap us up with this?
Yeah. So I think, we've gone over time. I appreciate you all sticking around and just, I think you had mentioned if anyone's interested in getting into the beta, shoot me an email at craig@chrisnaugle.com and we can look at getting you involved. I know there's some folks out there doing it already, and what we're looking for is guidance and patience, so we're building, and if you find something that doesn't work right, great, we want to know about it, but we're really marching fast to get this out to you as soon as possible because what we teach all the time, we implement personally, but we know that you sometimes might struggle with how do I pay loans back or how do I change things in my debts when that comes up? And so it's an easy button for you. So we're excited. We're extremely excited. I almost can't sleep some nights as I'm thinking about it. But with all that said, appreciate everyone being here today, and there's a lot of other cool stuff coming with the vault. So stay tuned, and just glad that you were able to make it here today. Christmas in July, and don't forget we have Ask Me Anything 4:30 Eastern, where our whole team gets on Brady Bunch style to answer your questions.
Yeah, and final request, if there is also any beta testers out there that are clients of Christy Van using Velocity Banking, we need you to enlist in the vault, because there is something really special coming that has all the things to do with Christy Van and Vantastic and Velocity Banking. So if you're with Christy Van and using IBC, you have just been enlisted to help us with the vault. But with that being said, I always like to close these things out with Shauna's closing remarks. And she said this, she said, "You've seen the rules of the wealthy. Now it's your move. This isn't about theory. It's about power. Buying power, clarity, control. It's about becoming your own bank and writing your own rules, even in a recession." Thanks for joining us today for this wealth webinar, and an epic one at that, because you got to see some things that nobody else has, and that is what we call Christmas in July. With that being said, we'll see you on the next one, or this afternoon at 4:30 for Ask Me Anything Happy Hour. Thanks, everybody.